This is Mahindra's SUV Proving Track in South India, about an hour out of Chennai. About 450 acres of automotive Disneyland, and I'm here to drive two cars. This is the Mahindra XUV7OO, not 700 or 007, the letter 00, and Mahindra is keen for me to get that right because it stands for ooh, as in delight. Am I delighted to be in this car? Actually, it's quite a nice thing to spend some time in. First of all, I've got loads of technology. I've got these two 10.25-inch screens Siamese behind a single panel of glass. This one's touchscreen. This is a fully digital driver's instrument display. The interior is kind of simple and Spartan, but quite nicely done. Whether you could live with a light-coloured interior is entirely up to you. If you've got kids with pens in their hands, probably not. But otherwise, it's quite a sharp interior. Panoramic sunroof, electrically adjustable seats. And up front I've got a 2-litre turbo petrol engine with about 150 kilowatts and 380 newton meters of torque. That goes through a 6-speed automatic transmission. In India here you can have it with a manual, but obviously Australians wouldn't buy that. So all pretty conventional stuff. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know about this car, but I'm doing something in it that you probably can't do in Australia. In fact, I'm 100% certain you can't. And that's because I'm at the epicenter of the Mahindra SUV Proving Track, their high-speed ring. Now I'm told, actually, the most challenging part of the circuit is this bit in the inside lane. The suggested speed for this lane is 60 kilometers an hour, and actually I can see why they say it's quite challenging, because it's got this really nasty off-camber. It actually cambers towards the center of the track, and trying to keep a really consistent line is quite challenging. You really need to focus to not have to put in too many steering inputs. But I'm at a high speed ring, so why am I going to spend time in the inside lane? The next one has a suggested minimum speed of 80 kilometers an hour. Then there's this one, which is 120. And then there's this one, 2-litre turbo petrol engine, coaxing me very sprightly. Actually, I like this engine. It's quite refined. It does a pretty decent job of spiriting me up to, I've got a vehicle overspeed alarm, 160 kilometers an hour into what is, oh my god, a 44-degree banked track. Oh my god, still 160 kilometers an hour. Oh my god, and the G-forces are making me feel like a fighter pilot. I've got all the blood rushing out of my head. And we're done. That is very strange and absolutely brilliant. What a cool experience. I've got my overspeed alarm shouting at me. Ignore that. The speed limit in India is around about 130 kilometers an hour on select roads. Honestly, my experience of the way they drive here, it seems like they just do whatever they like. But the most curious thing about going into the banking track is you can see it looming and you feel like you're going to have to do something, but as you head into it 160, there's very little steering required. You just tip it in. I asked one of the engineers if they ever get used to this, and they said, yeah, of course, yeah, we get used to it really quickly. I'm like, well, I've done plenty of laps today, and I'm nowhere near getting used to the experience. That is absolutely fantastic. Not just the opportunity to drive a Mahindra at speeds far, far in excess of anything you get to do on an Australian road, but also at the same time being able to tip it into a truly unique test facility. I've spent some time in this car doing all the comfort testing and the different low mu testing to test braking, the stability control, but easily the highlight is this. I'm sure the camera's not doing it justice. I'm just gonna have to do my best at explaining what the experience is like, but it's like being compressed into the seat with maximum downward G-force, but absolutely no lateral G-force at all. It's a very strange experience. I've been on test tracks before, but never at these speeds and never at that angle on a banked track. It is quite unique. Probably should take a few moments to talk about the car and what the experience is like. Well, it's perfectly stable, and because I'm on a private track, I can take my hands off the wheel and let you know this car tracks absolutely wonderfully at 160 kilometers an hour. Once more into the breach. And you can see why this is such an important and valuable tool for testing cars like this. You can spend all day long doing consistently high speeds without having to alter the attitude of the vehicle too much. Absolutely fantastic. But I'm not done yet. There's one other vehicle that I want to turn my focus to while I've still got some time left at Mahindra's amazing proving track. This is the Scorpio N, another vehicle that's already on sale in Australia. It's been on sale down under for about 12 months, but I'm getting a chance to put it through its paces on the off-road circuit, the very place where it was developed, and see exactly what it can tackle. Now, this is no day tripper kind of simple off-road course. This is a proper international world-class proving ground for off-road vehicles. So I think I'm going to be faced with some of my own challenges, not just challenges for the Scorpio N. Before I go anywhere, I'm going to pop it into four-wheel drive low, because as I say, I'm told this is a pretty challenging track. I want to give myself the best competitive advantage I can. Now, as if I haven't even got started, and the way this course begins is with a seesaw. I've never tackled a challenge like this before. It's made all the more daunting because it's over water. So the key to this is to just be really gentle on the throttle. Keep edging forward. You don't want to go too far, otherwise, yeah, we're just starting to tip. Oh my God, it's like driving up to the edge of the earth and then the earth comes to you. All right, first challenge, success. There's plenty more that lies ahead. So this vehicle, powered by a 2.2 turbo diesel engine bolted to a 6-speed automatic transmission and a proper transfer box. This is a proper ladder frame chassis off-road vehicle. Once again, you can get this vehicle as a manual in India, but not in Australia. Makes no sense there, I guess. And to be honest, I'm happy it's an automatic because I need all the help I can get on this track. It's got 130 odd kilowatts for a 4-cylinder single turbo diesel engine. That's actually pretty respectable figures. It's also pretty fuel efficient. Mahindra put a lot of development hours into this engine. It's an all alloy diesel engine, so quite nice and lightweight. And it'll do between 7 and 8 litres per 100 kilometres. That's the claim. It's definitely not doing that today because this is about as low speed as progress gets, but I'm taking it real easy because I don't want to embarrass myself. This part of India is still quite warm, even though we're in the cooler part of the year, but we've had a lot of rain, so this off-road circuit is very waterlogged. There's parts we can't risk because they're under about 1.5 meters of water at the moment. And while this has a pretty respectable wading depth, it's not quite that. Now this bit here tests the composure of the body and the wheel articulation, and it requires a real gentle foot because it is quite nasty. You've got to settle into a bit of a rhythm and it just walks backwards and forwards. It feels very strange. And of course, if you spend a lot of time going backwards and forwards across this, it's going to reveal any weak spots in the Scorpio N's constitution. Not on this occasion. Maybe a bit in mine, but nothing in the cars. I've done some off-roading before. I've done some proving ground courses, but I can safely say this one is definitely one of the most challenging, technical, and one of the ones you really have to think about. Now that I'm done with the technical part, let's talk about Mahindra, the brand. It is without doubt a challenger brand, and it's vying for a portion of the Australian market along with a few other challenger brands as well. But Mahindra is confident it can make a bit more of a dent than it has done in the past, for a number of reasons. One, it's venturing into the electric vehicle world More about that later, watch this space. 2, the range of vehicles we can expect to see coming from it are going to be increasingly higher spec and more luxurious. But part 3 is the price. When you look at pure bang for buck, it's a bit of a bargain. But there's one more element that I think makes the Mahindra range of vehicles particularly compelling. This and that. During my time in India on public roads, I've experienced some of the most colossal potholes I've experienced anywhere in the world. And also during our time here, we've had extremes of heat, and at other times of the year, India gets very cold. Terrible road surfaces and potholes and damage, extremes of environmental temperatures and weather. Sound familiar to you? Any vehicle that has grown up evolving in conditions very similar to Australia's conditions has, in my mind, a distinct advantage in Australia. So, you ask, why have I come to the other side of the world to drive 2 vehicles that are already available in Australia? Actually, all is not quite as it might seem on the outside. As part of an update for the Scorpio N, it now gets exactly the same level of driver assistance systems as this car, and that completes Mahindra's 4th and final element, safety. Now, I'm sorry I've come all the way to the other side of the world and I wasn't able to demonstrate, but in my mind, driving in some of the most hazardous conditions at a proving ground and on India's roads and not demonstrating the safety systems is a bit of a win-win.